Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you had a good and happy start to the year 2011. Welcome to the Daily Dizzle, the first ever Daily Dizzle weekend update. I am Tommy Dizzlemits, as always. We got it up a little bit later than we thought, but we're still, on time for the beginning of the year. Pretty much making sure that we've got something to kill the time on weekends. Whether it's a late night update on a Friday or Saturday or just an early Sunday update, just to kind of give you an idea what to expect on Monday and through the week from the Daily Dizzle. Today, we've just got some brief thoughts to touch on from New Year's. We've got the Friday estimates from the box office as well. If any of you know me, you know I was stuck at work for New Year's. It was awesome. The only thing more awesome than that is the fact that we've got DirecTV at work, and for some reason DirecTV decided to block New Year's Rockin' Eve. Yes, because Dick Clark might be too mature for some of the audiences out there. Though I ended up DVRing it. It was hilarious watching that guy do the countdown. He almost, he started off behind the countdown, then ended up getting ahead of it in the last 5 seconds. Oh, I love Dick Clark. I hope they bring him back every year until he dies, even if I can't understand half the words he's saying. He's hilarious. On the flip side of that, it's kind of interesting. Everyone goes to ABC and everyone watches that. They had the coverage of New Year's on all night, of course. But during that last half hour, I can't tell you how many times. I think ABC cuts a commercial like 4 times from 11:30 to midnight. They were all long-ass commercials. Meanwhile, if you put on NBC, because we had to, because that was the one thing that wasn't blocked, because Carson Daly was hosting it, and no one likes him, so they figured give him the ratings, I guess. Regardless, though, they had Carson Daly on, and they took maybe 2 commercial breaks during that last half hour. The whole time, though, he's talking, trying to pretend like people are watching him, like he's an authority, though he knows everyone's just going to Dick Clark and Ryan Seacrest because they are less douchebaggy. And now to a brief box office updates for Friday, December 31st. Unlike last weekend where Christmas Eve falling on a Friday really messed with the holiday earnings, it seems like the Friday, New Year's Eve only helped things, though things might drop off a little bit by the end of the weekend. But right now, if the estimates hold up, right now, as of Friday, number 1 was True Grit. Ended up topping the box office with over $8 million. I think that might be its highest grossing day yet. It's at $70 million right now total. It will end up crossing $100 million for sure. It might even surpass The Unforgiven as being one of the highest grossing westerns in some time. Meanwhile, number 2 was Little Fockers. Ended up with $7.7 million. Still not doing it as great as the other ones. Still not doing as terrible as everyone seemed to want it to be. Number 3, Tron Legacy, still holding up at the box office, made an extra $5 million. Its total is currently at $117.5 million. It will be on its way to making back that budget by the end of things. Between the 3D TV release and Blu-ray and everything like that, Tron Legacy will definitely have some legs behind it, even after its box office run. Number 4, Yogi Bear, made an extra $4 million for the day, and it is currently sitting at $57 million. Going through, it looks like a lot of the movies took a hit from Thursday to Friday, regardless of the fact that it was a weekend. Still, because of all the off time during the week, they had plenty of time for the families to get out and anyone who was going to the movies. So it's a different time of year where business isn't just relegated to the weekends. It's equally spread out across all the borders, but it seems that either movies with good reviews, mainly the Oscar movies, it seems like at this point, are the ones that are getting the big boost from Thursday to Friday. True Grit, The Fighter, The King's Speech, and The Tourist. The Tourist kind of as faded as an Oscar hopeful. Still the ones that seem to be getting the best bumps are the ones that are getting the best notices overall. Back to the top 10. At number 5, we got The Chronicles of Narnia 3. Made another $3.5 million. Its total sits at $80 million. It should end up crossing $100 million at the very least, so Fox will be able to add that little figure onto it. Number 6, Tangled, is still hanging in there. $3.3 million for the day on Friday. It'll probably still make $10 million for the weekend as a whole, and for a movie that's been out for a kids movie, especially that's been out for 6 weeks. Especially in the 3D climate where movies drop off very quickly, to still be making double digits for a weekend, it's kind of crazy. Number 7, Gulliver's Travels, even though it's not doing as great, it made just under $3 million for the day. Might even have around $10 million for the weekend. It should be around the $30 million mark by the end of this weekend. So even though it's not a huge success for Jack Black, still not the worst movie in the world performance-wise. Number 8, The Fighter, is finally starting to gain ground on Black Swan, holding on to its top 10 spot while the Black Swan slips out. The Fighter made just over $2.6 million for the day. Its total sits at $39 million. Like we said, that one will only perform stronger and stronger. It seems like that's the case with a few of these. Number 9 is The King's Speech, still at 700 theaters, made just under $2.5 million. So it'll end up maybe even having a $10,000 per theater average for the weekend, which is pretty good. Sometimes, even with huge wide releases, there are a lot of blockbusters nowadays which can even get $10,000 per theater, but that still shows that you're packing business, whether it's a few hundred theaters or a few thousand theaters. Rounding out the top 10, we've got The Tourist, which made just under $2 million. Its total sits at $50 million, so it's only made half of its budget back so far in America. That's good news. Outside the top 10, number 11, we have Black Swan. Made $1.9 million as well. Its total sits at just under $41 million. So at this point, between The Fighter and Black Swan, we're going to keep tabs on that just to see how close the race between those two ends up being. Now that The Fighter is a little bit higher up, if it can end up getting the legs in the long run to end up passing the total of Black Swan, or if they're going to be neck and neck for a while, we'll have the statistics on that more even during the week. Number 12, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is still hanging in there, made $1.3 million. Its total sits at $280 million. Could cross $300 million, might not. Even if it doesn't, it's still performing in line with the rest of the Harry Potter movies. Meanwhile, number 13, the last one that they tracked for the day, How Do You Know? It's made $1.3 million for the day. Its total sits at just shy of $22 million. Maybe it'll be lucky and it'll make $30 to $40 million. So it can say it made back a third of its budget. Still wondering how they spent $120 million on that. So if the estimates hold, they'll pretty much look like that. Same order for the movies, just with a little bit more money to them. So that's all we've got for today for the first Daily Dizzle Weekend Update. Don't forget to join us on Monday to check out the brand new week of Daily Dizzle for the brand new year. We'll have a lot more new things coming and adding. We'll start getting a little bit more streamlined, and things can only get better from here. So don't forget to keep joining us. As always, I am Tommy Dizzlemits. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dizzlemits. Click on the username if that's easier, or just type in Dizzlemits on your YouTube search and see what comes up. We've got a lot of daily Dizzles and a lot of custom music video highlights if you haven't seen those. So give it a look, see what you can find. Hopefully we will see you on Monday and throughout the new year. As always, I'm Tommy Dizzlemits. We'll see you later.